Welcome back to our growing experiment. We're here with Zoe from Choreograph Your Life. Zoe, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yes, hi, my name is Zoe Monroy, and I am from Venezuela originally. I moved to Canada, actually, it was like 16 years ago last week. So it's been, yeah, sometimes you think and look back, right? Like, wow, 16 years already. Where'd the time go? So yeah, I moved here, like I said, from Venezuela, and I was like, looking for a better life. And I was in Edmonton, and then I went to Calgary, and then Winnipeg, and then I stay here in Sudbury. So I was married, but then, didn't work. So we grew apart. So we separated, and it was like, we'll live our journey the way it is, I guess. We'll just go with the flow kind of thing sometimes. And, but I'm really grateful. Like I've been here, like I said, 16 years. So I grew up in Venezuela. We're like humble family, normal family, my mom and dad, my sister, my brother. And we're just like, pretty much just have each other. My mom was a teacher. My father was an accountant. So nothing like, really fancy, but like I say, I was looking for something better, a better way of life. So I decided to move to Canada. When I came here, I didn't speak English at all. I didn't never travel like out of Venezuela ever. So it was my first time. And yeah, so I've been like really lucky, met so many wonderful people, and I work in, let's say, in the corporate world between Venezuela and Canada for, let's say, about 17 years. And after my, separation and so many other events happen in my life, I just decided to become an entrepreneur. I took some courses in Toronto. I went to Toronto and I took some courses using the methodology Neuro-Linguistic programming, so NLP. And after I learned so many things, I overcome so many obstacles in my own life, because it was like those aha moment that you have like, oh, wow, I didn't know this. I didn't know that my brain can think of all this, or I didn't know I carry all my packages, all my emotions and bad things from the past, and I can release it all. So I was like, I did all this first for myself, but then I thought, wow, it helped me so much. I gotta help people, because this is so cool. This is like so many good things that we don't think, in our head, or we think sometimes too much. But there is ways to like release, the past and negative emotions and things like that. So again, because it helped me so much, I was like, I gotta help other people with this, because this is really cool. So I started, like I said, my business, and it was one of those things. I got laid off from a job, my last job, and I was, yeah, okay, this is it. I'm gonna just jump in and do my own business, but I had no idea how to do a business. I don't know if you guys can relate to that. And I was like, just like, okay, what's the first step here? What should I do? So register your business, open a bank account, like a business account, and go from there. But because I started like really from zero, I had nothing. I didn't have like, capital or anything. It was just me. Like they say, me, myself, and I doing it, starting all this. So I was nervous and excited at the same time. And I just jumped in, like I said, and it's been really, really like a learning curve. And to me, there is always learning. So whether you're in a business, whether you have, your job, whether you're, you a mom and take care of kids, it is always learning, always. So I remember one of my mentors always say, like, when you're done, you're dead. And it's so true to me. It was like, you always got to learn. So for me, being in business, I really love, let's say, the freedom, because, I could just go work like crazy for so many weeks, and then, okay, I'm going to take a break, take a couple of days off and do nothing. So that's, the beauty of that. But again, yeah, it's of course, challenges like anything, financial, of course, too. But the good thing is that I get to meet so many people. I get to connect with so many people in the community, or even outside here too, because I took the trainings in Toronto. So then I met so many people there as well. So we're still are friends, and I did some connections in there as well. And I even did trainings there. I've done trainings in there. Well, we know it's like now we have like before COVID, our life, and then now it's like during COVID, or let's say after, kind of. So I still have, that, let's say, connections there in Toronto, so I can always go and do things there. Well, the online like this, we open and, open even more for us, because I started doing more coaching, of course, like this on Zoom as well. And my other, I do also, I don't know if I mentioned that I teach salsa classes as well, dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I combine them, because I find that it's very fascinating when I learn all the things, like I said, with neuro-linguistic programming, and change my way of thinking and helping other people through my clients or the trainings that I do. And also I use those techniques when I teach salsa. People sometimes don't know, but I do. And it's fun to see their transformation, because to me, that's how it is. It's like when people come to me, it's a transformation that it goes, because you're like, looking for some answers and you don't know what to do in your life. When I find them, when I have my clients, they're like confused, or they don't know what to do next, or they're tired, or whatever it is. So it's just like I open up something for them. They're like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is something that I can do. And then, give them options. And it's like there is possibilities. There is, like I said before, learnings, and it's really cool to to do that. So I'm really, really happy, and it's always looking forward for what else to learn, and helping more people, and connecting, like I said, with other people as well. Not only here, but hopefully, well, with this online, we can do it everywhere, anywhere we want.
Yeah.
Really. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really interesting. I mean, you have a pretty good story there for sure, coming all the way over here and not having any knowledge of the language already, and then picking that up, and there's lots of ups and downs. So that's a really cool story you've got there. And so, with that neuro-linguistic programming, so I think I've heard that term before. Could you kind of explain to us sort of the methodology behind that, or sort of what the idea is?
Yeah. So it's basically like the neuro-linguistics, like the neuro is like the brain, right? And then linguistic is the speaking. And programming is like you programming all that, right? So it's like, to put it like in a short version, it's like the study of excellence, because we don't realize that you are so intelligent, you are an excellent person the way you are. Because let's say, if you guys, for example, you're an expert, let's say in baking, for instance, just an example, and then I don't do any baking at all, but then I'm expert in, I don't know, something else, in accounting, for example. So we sometimes don't see it as like, you're intelligent, you're an expert, you're in that, and that's good, and I am in this. And we don't have to know it all, because imagine if we know it all, it'll be crazy too much in our head. So we have to like be happy with the thing. So this taught me that your intelligence, the way you have this knowledge to, let's say, help people in certain things, and that's good, you do that, and then other people do other things. It's like we cannot learn it all, we cannot know it all, because it's really not possible for us. So when you like just think about like putting things in perspective in that way, it's when you just like, oh yeah, that's okay, I'm content the way I am, I do this, and this is what I like, let's say I know how to do this job, or I know how to do whatever it is that you do. Just be okay with that and be happy with that. But we live in a world that is always like pushing us to do more, to give more, and at the end of the day, it's like, well, you just gotta learn one thing at a time. In NLP, we learn that there is no such a thing as like multitasking, because you cannot really like, I cannot be with you guys talking. Just think about that, thinking about talking with you here and be on the phone at the same time, because that's not gonna work. I won't have my attention to you or the phone. It's like I'm all over the place. So you gotta just do one thing at a time and be okay with that too. So when we realize that, and then a lot of things change. And also it's like in NLP also we use a lot like the words, especially in English. There is so many words that we use that sometimes we think it's okay. One example I can give you is like, let's say my favorite, it was the try. And if we heard that word before, for example, in what's that movie called? I think it's the Star Wars. There is no try. There is do or don't do.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is the same in NLP because there is no try. When they say I invite you to a party, I have a party this weekend, and I say, hey guys, come to my party. I have a barbecue, and you tell me, okay, I'm gonna try. Try means no, you're not gonna do it because it's like a 90% possibility that you're not going. But because we're so afraid to say, yes, I'm coming, or no, I cannot go, we just say try. There is no try. So when you learn the words that we use and you're like, okay, yeah, that is like, give you a better, like an opening into how you communicate with people. Because in NLP, we learn a lot on how to communicate. Another example is that let's say when it comes to learning, for some people, they like to see. They say, I'm going to see you. For example, I have students that come, I want to see you dancing, and then I'll do it. Because that's the way they learn, seeing. Other people got to listen. No, I'm going to listen to this first. And other people wanted to feel it, so they want to touch it, or they, there's some have the feeling of it. So when we, let's say, know that everybody is different when they learn things, so then it's also like, wow, this is good too. Especially when I tell this, I had a client one time, she was having problems with her partner. And then I say, well, it's because your communication, it doesn't flow, between the two of you. Because you're saying to him like, okay, I wanted to see this and this, but then he doesn't see it. He needs to feel it. So when you know the words to use with that person, of course we'll have a better communication. Of course we're going to feel better, like understanding each other and, getting to know, let's say, each other. And at the same time, we all have it all. We all like to listen, of course. We all like to hear or listen in things. We all like to feel, but or like seeing, but we just have like a little more, we're more stronger in one than the other. It's not like you don't have it, but we're just stronger than one or the other. So just teaching those little things on like the words that we use and how you communicate. So it's like an opening, like I said, to another, let's say, level of your communication, let's say, with either if a relationship or it's with your kids or, with whoever you need to talk to. So those things like really, really important. And the other thing that we also emphasize in NLP is that we call it a movie that you play in your head. For example, let's say you need to talk to somebody, let's say your boss. Oh, I gotta tell my boss that I want to take a time off, let's say this day. But you like create it before you go talk to that person. Oh my God, he's gonna say no because of this, and he just and you're going on and on, and you haven't even talked to that person. You're playing a movie that is actually a movie in your head instead of like, hey, I'm gonna go talk, and if he says yes, okay. If he says no, or he, whatever, she, you just gotta go and talk to that person instead of creating all this, because that creation in your head is like, it's taking your energy and your emotions also, and then you're going crazy and you may be calling your friends saying when you don't even know what the person is going to say. So it's better to just go and talk to the person. So learning all those things and using some of the techniques, like one of the techniques I like it a lot, it's called the timeline therapy, which is like getting rid of the 5 major negative emotions. We all have all those emotions, which is anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. We all have that because from our past, from our parents, from the school, whatever, we learn those things, right? We, let's say, carry it with us into this present moment. And when we know how to deal with those emotions, it's also like an opening too. After I did that technique for the first time, it was like I don't know, like a heavy, it was like from my shoulder, I was carrying all this, and it's like, I feel so light. It's because of that. Of course, after I do that technique, I always tell my clients, it's not like, oh no, you're not gonna feel, sad anymore. It's just that you're gonna react different. Right? You're not gonna be like, because yeah, of course, if for example, yes, let's say somebody in your family or whoever close to you, your loved one die, well, of course you're gonna feel sad because life goes on. We're gonna feel those. It's just that we're gonna react different when things like that happen. So doing that technique is really, really powerful, I find. And I see their transformation. Sometimes they, oh, but I don't feel nothing, or I'm just like, well, that's okay, because in the future sessions I see they speak in different, they're saying, different things. So it's like, yes, I love it.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel good when I see that. So
Well, that's really interesting because a few key things I was hearing there. The first thing that stood out to me in the beginning was that reframing of how you were thinking about the situations. And foremost, I heard you mentioning what I sounded like, basically like gratitude. So it's like, well, I'm not good at everything, but I am good at this one thing, and that's good enough, or that's okay. And to me, that's another way of framing gratitude into your subjective view on your life. And then that builds on to the idea too, that the things that you say are part of what you become, and they're part of your thinking patterns. So like how you said there, if I say, I'm going to try to be there, you're sort of already mentally giving yourself an out, because that trying doesn't mean completing the task. But when you say, I will be there, well, now you've made a commitment to something that has to be done, or it's calling into question, say, your word, your integrity, and all these other things. And so you're going to do what you said you're going to do. And also you've made that commitment mentally. So it's almost as if you've already committed to doing the thing. So you're mentally, you're already doing it, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So it's also that, like, NLP is also teach you those things on how you can, let's say, set up your goals or make a decision to do something, or like take action into something. Because again, it's the words that we use, the things that we say to ourselves. And then from there, you can just, let's say, go and do it. So sometimes I have people that are like, oh, I'm procrastinating into this, or I just don't want to do it, or that. So then when we work and then we go into, but see, you can do this, and you have this option, and here's how you can do it. And sometimes also, like, I don't know if you heard that, also like writing things, you make you more like, oh yeah, okay, I wrote it, so I feel like I got to do it. So things like that too. So it's just little things that we kind of, switch, or let's say, like, kind of like the word reprogramming yourself to make you feel better and to do better things. So why not use it, right? So that's why, to me, it's really, really fascinating when, and especially nowadays, that you see, let's say, coaches, we look back, and when I started learning this, I look back and, oh yeah, when I, for example, looking at the Olympic Games, those athletes are elite. Why they're so, let's say, committed and doing things? Because they have a coach. They have somebody with them say, here, okay, you're running, I don't know, a marathon or whatever they're doing. So, okay, this is what we're doing first. So the first day they start, I don't know, running or walking. And then the next day they say they take a break, and then they lift things or whatever, work out their legs, whatever that is. They always have somebody there with them because they need that. It's important to have that person with you, let's say, giving you that push. Because a lot of us don't have that by, like, on our own, let's say. So you always need that somebody, like, even if it's a coach, or if it's a mentor, or if it's your friend, like whoever, it doesn't matter. Just an example that, oh yeah, sometimes I feel like you call your friend, you're like, okay, yeah, she told me, okay, I'm gonna do it. And you kind of get into this. So this is kind of like that. I know people like to have that option to say, yeah, you can do this, and you can be on your own, or you can have somebody that can help you too. So using all that is like, it's more powerful, I find. So
yeah, so there it's kind of like having a bit of a structure, which is where the coach comes in, and then the other aspect is having some of that positive reinforcement, and maybe sometimes having that outside perspective that's going to be able to view your progress from a more objective point of view. And when you're having a day when, say, in the case with the athlete, they're having a really bad training day, the coach can say, Well, yeah, today maybe you don't feel like you're as fast as you should be, but you've made this much progress over this much time, right? Like you've actually been improving a lot. So you're probably a little bit beat down today. So you know what? Take it a little bit easy. We'll take the last 5 minutes off, do a warm down or something like that. And whatever, we'll go home and just hang out, whatever, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's that totally makes sense too, where it is hard, especially for a lot of us. Like procrastination is a thing I'm bad at for around the house. Like I'll make a lot of plans to do things, and my coach really is Sophia in a way, because she's got a list of things that needs to get done, and she keeps showing me that list, and when that list is really full, it's pretty daunting. So I get that motivation to go and check things off the list.
There you go. See, that works. You're already doing it. So that's awesome. And that's really important, because also we work together sometimes and with somebody else. A lot of people sometimes they like to work on by themselves, or they used to, let's say, but a lot of us prefer to have, like I say, either it's your partner or your coach, or like your mom, your dad, whoever that is, but it's somebody that can give you that push, let's say, into doing things. So and it's really it's up to you, of course, because at the end of the day you're doing it. But having that person is like, oh yeah, I can do it better. And especially now I find that in this time, that after all this COVID and all that, a lot of people went into in the beginning, I don't know for you guys, but in the beginning I feel like a lot of us were all confused. What's going on? What's happening here? What do you mean I cannot go out? What do you mean I can? What do I have to now wear a mask? What do I have to do? All these new things. We're overwhelmed with so much information, so much things going on, plus the things that we got to do in our home or work. So it was getting way too many things. But in here, it's just plan and then do one thing at a time, because really that's the best way to do. To, let's say, accomplish something in your life. Yeah. Another thing that I really enjoy doing with the NLP is we have a technique. It's called values, align your values and beliefs, because we have so many values, right? For instance, I don't know about you guys. I grew up in Venezuela, and most of the people there, or my family too, they were Catholic. So we were going to church pretty much every Sunday. But then after I grew up, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just believe in God, and God is in me. I'm God. And, it was that kind of thing. And then I just didn't go to church anymore. So because it was just that's not me anymore. So and then those are the values are in religions, or, in your job, or with a relationship, or anything like that. When you reevaluate and realign your values, that's also wow, this is pretty cool too. At one time I had a client, and he was in business, starting a business, and we did the values when it comes to what's important in your business. And he told me all these things is important in his business. And I'm like, okay, take a look at the list. Do you think it's something missing there? No, I think it's pretty good. And then I had to do, a few things, a few other questions and stuff. And finally I'm like, don't you think you need money? Oh my God, money was missing. Money is important in your business. So see, that's part of the values that he never thought of that, because when you're, let's say, new, doing business, something new, then it's like you say, you have to have somebody else to say, guide you and say, here, this is, oh my God, yeah. So then we realign all that, and then it was good, and he's actually doing really good in his business right now. So that's another cool technique as well that we use. And it's mostly for business or relationships, family, even for sometimes for people workout or exercise, because sometimes we just need to say the things, okay, what's important to me in this, in a relationship, or what's important to me in my job, or again, in my business. So doing all that too, it's reinforcing yourself. And of course, I really believe too that the things that you think is what creates your reality, to say, because we're having so much information in our head. We have over 90,000 thoughts a day. So if you make those thoughts good, well, you can have a good life, let's say. But of course, you have some thoughts that are like, negative, but we want the most of them to be positive because you're thinking anyway. You may as well make it good.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do, like in NLP. And it's not like try, we do it.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too that I'm hearing with that too is that there's a lot of opportunity for reflection, and sometimes maybe as people we're not aware enough to really do that self-reflection, and so having a coach there, someone that you can work with, or a loved one, or whatever the case might be, being able to talk about stuff and then having someone sort of looking at it, and maybe it's better in a sort of a coach, sort of like how you're talking about it, because you're again removed from that a little bit. And that's almost what you need to do, because you made a mention earlier too about looking at our emotions, and then like it's not like you're not going to have the emotion again, but you're going to have that space to look at it differently, where you're like, okay, why am I feeling this emotion? Where is this coming from? And then once you can kind of understand it, you can kind of label it, and you can reflect on it. It's not going to have as much of an effect on you, or at least not as much of an effect that you're not aware of. And so like that seems like a big part of it in a way. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Totally right. Because you have a different perspective. Kind of like sometimes when also people say like, oh, I have this big problem and oh, this is the only solution. When if you really sit back, let's say, step back for a minute and okay, what else I can do here? There is more than one solution. It's not just one. So in NLP also we show that sometimes like 20 solutions, not just one. You can do this, or you can do that, or you can talk to this person, or you can, whatever that is, right? So you give like more, and then people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that's true. Because that's the thing too, that we're sometimes in the world, it's only like, oh, I can only do this, and that's no way I'm doing it. Well, not really. Here, and it's, like you said, I just like, well, what about this? What about that? What if you talk to here? What if you make a phone call to this person? Or whatever the case it is. So it's like opening up, because in our world, I find sometimes that too, that most people are like stuck in one place for whatever reason. They just feel like, okay, this is it. I cannot do no more. And well, no, there is other possibilities. There is other options that are here for you. Or we just like, you just, let's say, close and then you don't see it. But there is a lot more.
Well, and even what you're saying there too, it's like in a lot of the way that you're framing your words, you're talking about stuff as if there's almost always going to be more than one solution to a problem. And commonly the problem seems to be, I only see this as the solution. I can't do that. Therefore, I have no power to do anything. And then nothing gets done, right? But if you're able to sort of look at it in a way where you think to yourself, oh, no, there is another option, you're going to find that other option. And so you've framed your reality in a way where it's always going to be growing or expanding with more outs, as opposed to having a limited small world that like it seems it's not, maybe it's this simple, but it's a lot of can versus can't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a big difference, especially if you're someone who wants to get things done. Well, you need a can do attitude. And so that's like a lot of that framework comes in there. And I think you're right too. And it's interesting because if you look, say, like in the Bible, in the beginning there, God will say, let there be light, and then there was light. So he's speaking things into creation in his own way in the beginning. And, I always think like, we're created in the image of God, let's say. And I think that sort of bears out this thought where you speak your reality into existence, in the sense that your mental framing, your thoughts, the words you use, they shape the reality around you. They shape the interactions you're going to have with the people around you. And it's going to be a positive interaction if you're putting out positive, and it's going to be negative if you're putting out negative. And right. So, you're much more open to interaction with that sort of creation mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also like adding into that is also like, we believe in like a higher self, like we are in this, and then there is a higher self. So let's say, for example, you're meeting, even if it's a friend or you're meeting somebody at a coffee shop, and then it's like, it takes like not even, I don't know, like 10 seconds, I believe it's something like that, until you come to that person to see if you're going to have, let's say, a good rapport to that person. Because it is like, the one thing could happen is that you're coming in and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this really good conversation with this person. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have fun, or whatever the case it is, gonna go through really good. Or you can be, and then it's gonna go flowing and it's gonna be really nice conversation. Or you can be coming and you're like, oh my God, I have to go this, I gotta do there. Oh my God, I forgot, I have to pick up the kids. Oh, so then it's gonna be all, and that person feels it because it's a higher self. You already, before you even get to talk to that person, your two higher self are already connected. So that's why that person's gonna feel that. And sometimes you're like, wow, I cannot believe I make it here and now he is upset, or because you came with that mentality already. You were not present for that person that, took the time and energy to be there, and you're just thinking about all other things. Well, no, they feel it already. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like, like that too.
Because that makes me think too, even when you're having a conversation with someone, like we're having a conversation now, that's very interesting. There's something weird that happens where it's like you'll lose track of time, right? And there's almost a sort of shared mental state when you're locked in like a really good conversation with somebody, where it is an altered state, and that is where you're achieving a lot of these beneficial emotions, beneficial hormones, when you're making eye contact, this type of thing. And it's really an exchange of energy that's going on that you're feeling. And it doesn't even have to be like a sort of I don't know, like a woo-woo spiritual type of thing. I think it's a thing that you can like everybody knows that. Everybody knows, like remembers one of their first, let's say, dates where they sat down at the table with somebody and it was like sparks, like fire, right? And you could just talk, and then all of a sudden it's midnight and you got to go home, right? And everyone knows that experience, but it's like they'll deny the fact that it's an altered mental state. But really it is, if you can take the second to step outside it and look at it, you're like, oh, there actually is some sort of weird exchange going on here where time seems to go away, and you share a space with a person. It even feels like in a really good conversation, you could be in a coffee shop and it's almost like the whole room blurs out and you're standing in this one little spotlight talking to that person.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nothing else exists. You just have so much, like such a good connection to that person. Yeah. That is, and it's just exactly like that. You realize, oh my God, we've been here 4 hours. What? I have friends like that. Sometimes they call me or they said that to me. They're like, yeah, I went to a place and somebody, we were there for hours. And it's like crazy. I'm like, see, because there is already a connection. There was like a good, that's it. It's just a connection between, let's say, the two souls. And it doesn't matter, if you believe on that or no, it's just, that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, because it's even like when you go to, say, a concert, and when everyone's in the concert, they're moving to the music at the same time. You see, like, you get like a wave kind of thing going on. Everyone's moving in a very weird, like they're sharing a mental state. They're connected in a weird way, and it's these weird. It's part of our human experience where we have these sort of heightened states of awareness when we're in a sort of exchange with someone, I guess. So yeah, we were just talking about, say, music and concerts and how everyone gets in that sort of shared mental state. So, and you mentioned earlier too that you link the oh my goodness, I'm blanking on
NLP.
The NLP. Sorry, you link the NLP with the dancing. So how do you kind of go about that?
Yeah, so because when I see people, they're using, like you were mentioned earlier, they can or can't, and no, I can't do this, and I'm just like, reframe them. Just think about looking at yourself. So the way that, I use like looking or seeing yourself or like feeling the music or listen to it, and then you get to it. So I kind of use the words to connect them using like all those, let's say 3 things, like listening or feeling or looking at yourself and doing it, so that way they kind of start feeling better. Because when you're dancing, sometimes they come to my class and they're like, oh, I have 2 left feet, or I don't know how to move my arms, or I get stuck or whatever. So I'm like, that's okay. This is like anything you learn. Because when you're going, for example, to university and you're going to learn, like, you're going to university for 4 years. Well, You're not gonna go like, okay, in 1 week, I learned everything. I'm good. I can go home. That's it. Give me my diploma. And that doesn't work like that. So it's in dancing is the same. You gotta like, practice. And if you really want to, maybe you're not gonna get a pro, you're not gonna be like, going to a competition, but at least you're gonna feel good on the dance floor. Well, then you have to put some time and effort into it. So I just reframe them and then get them into the music and then, the move and all that stuff. Because also in NLP, when we talk about can or can't, when people say, oh, I can't, whatever that is, it's not really, most of the time, it's not like you can't. It's just you don't want to. But that's okay. Again, that's another way of using the words to say, hey, can you come with me to, to the movies? Oh, no, I can't. Well, maybe I said, why not? Oh, I'm already going, or I just want to stay home. But see, it's not like you can't, it's you don't want to go. But again, we don't want to use the words like, no, I don't want to go, because it's kind of like, they're going to feel bad. Well, no, you just say that you don't want to go, and that's okay. So just say it. So it's like, say it the way you want it. It's okay. But we're afraid. Sometimes we don't want to say the word, or we need to explain ourselves too much too. It's like, I have some, I tell them too, for example, hey, are you coming to this? Are you coming to the barbecue? Just say yes or no. That's it. This is like yes or no question. And it's really amazing to see how many people need to explain themselves. But for men, usually men, they don't. Hey, can you come and help me here? No. That's it. No, it's a full sentence. Most men, they don't explain. But us, no, because I don't want to know all this story. Just say yes or no. That's okay. So that's how I kind of teach that to them, because you don't really have to explain when you don't need to. If I ask you, you coming? No. Then if I ask you why not, then you can explain. But if I just ask you and you say no, okay, I move on. That's okay. It's nothing like wrong with that. It's all good. It's kind of like if you go into a drive-through, do you want coffee? Yes. Do you want sugar? No. That's it. You don't have to say to them like, no, because sugar, No, you just say no sugar. So this is the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point you're making there too, because it's sort of being assertive, or at least being like standing in yourself and being enough to say no, because saying no basically means you're drawing a boundary, right? You're saying, I'm not willing to participate in this experience or whatever it is, right? And it's hard to put that barrier there, because a barrier, like a wall, you need to be sort of rigid in a way, and stepping into that and owning it by just saying no, and knowing that you don't have to provide an explanation, no is good enough. That's a big confidence thing.
Yeah, it is. But in our world, I don't know, for some reason, we're not. We want to always explain ourselves for things. And sometimes it's funny. I even use that with my friends sometimes, like, hey, are you coming? No, because, okay, thank you. That's it. I don't want to know no more.
Yeah.
I have to go. I love you. I have to go.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is like in that interaction too, it's going to be, it's like for you, when they just say no, you're like, that's fine because you don't need any more. But that's also speaking to say you and your character, that I can know that you're confident. You're like, I'm enough, I'm good enough, that's fine, whatever. This person just said no because they don't want to, and that's fine. That doesn't take anything away from me. And I think maybe it's one of those things where in society, I think it's very common in the culture here anyways, that people want to be very careful to not step on anyone's toes, and they want to make sure that they have total understanding behind their action and all that kind of stuff. So it's not perceived this way or that way. But that's one of the problems, right? Is you're making that movie in your head where you're, oh, if I don't tell them, they're going to make, and then off goes this horror picture movie where they're mad at you and never want to talk to you again.
Yeah, but in reality, that's not the case, because it's not like that. Let's say, for example, if I would have said no to you for this, or you probably were like, okay, well, we just find somebody else. That's okay. So you're gonna go on, because first, let's say we're not, let's say, close, or we just met, and you're just like, okay, I just move on. That's it. So, but sometimes, yeah, it's just that kind of, I don't know if it's an attachment, or like you say, it's just that explain ourselves too much, and we just need to like let things go easily. But it, for some reason, we don't. So,
Sounds like something you almost have to practice. Like you have to just try it and see what the outcome is so that you're not always thinking you have to explain yourself. Like when somebody
yeah,
asks a question, just yes or no, and then just kind of
Yes.
feel it out and see how it goes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. I actually have some, let's say, I call it the 6 rules of success. And then, and one of them is that answer only the question with love and integrity. I think I added there too, because yeah, that's it. Are you coming to this? Are you going? No. Are you doing it? Yes. That's it. And I'll tell you, people maybe respect you more. People like, maybe sometimes it's better that way, and you feel good too. So you can, yeah, for sure, try it.
Yeah.
When
Well,
somebody asks you a yes or no, just say that yes.
Yeah.
That's it, no more.
yeah, and this kind of is exactly sort of why I thought it'd be super interesting to talk to you, because especially now over this time with COVID and all this kind of stuff like that, people have taken a real beating with mental health, right? And part of why we got into podcasting was wanting to explore people who are becoming more self-reliant and getting out there and say gardening and all this kind of thing. But getting involved in doing that requires a lot of the mental attitude that you're talking about. I can do, I'll figure it out, I'm good enough, that kind of attitude. And I feel like, especially in the last 2 years, with everyone being in such a heightened mental state, I think it's been sort of, we've gotten too comfortable with the idea that we don't have any power, that we don't have any ability, that we're not enough, that we should be afraid. And what I'm hearing from what you're talking, I'm hearing people learning how to be confident, learning to stand in their own 2 boots and stand by who they are, and also having gratitude for what they have, but knowing that they can get better and improve in the ways they want to. And it's really what you're describing to me helps put people in the driver's seat of their own life.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like we're giving away our power when no, you don't have to give that away. You just stand up and be yourself, and yeah, be confident. And maybe it'll take time, but it's okay. Sometimes we're like, everybody's living their own journey. This is not a competition at all. When you like realize that too, it's like, okay, you're going through things, so you're learning these faster than me, or you better than, well, that's okay. Like, according to who, anyways, compared to what?
Yeah.
So it's okay, because you have your own journey. It's like if I tell you, yeah, you have to come to my dance classes, you'll be like, no, because I don't want to dance that. Well, it's okay, because in your journey is no dancing, let's say, involved. Or you tell me like, I don't know, maybe you're like, writing a book or something. Yeah, so you have to write. And I'll be like, no, I don't know if I want to do that. Or, like everybody's different. We have to we haven't, let's say, a human experience, all of us here, but everybody's having the different experience. I mean, everybody's a human experience here, but the experience are all different for everybody. We're not going to be, imagine if we all, let's say, be doctors, or we all engineers, or it'll be boring, the world, I think. Everybody has to have their own, and we just got to respect and love everybody the way they are. And yeah, that is so, and especially nowadays too, so much going on. And I find that in certain, because I don't really watch news or TV anymore, but in certain timeless, you can just see that they want to divide us. And the idea is that we need to be together, not divided, because we are all in this together. Nobody's gonna, sometimes I feel like even people, oh yeah, if the government is gonna save me, or the government is taking care of me. Well, no, it's you taking care of you.
Yep.
You are the one taking care of you, and then your community around you, your people. So that's kind of like the main thing too.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And that's why we started doing this as well too, because we wanted to be able to reach out with people and help build a sense of community here in Sudbury. because that's again part of the mental health aspect, and it's also what I believe is what sort of it gives beauty to your life is the people you love, the friends you spend time with, and then also the things you do in your life that fulfill your life. And I think more often than not, it's actually taking responsibility and doing something usually that challenges you. And it's not about just trying to be happy, because another thing that I'm hearing with a lot of what you're talking is it's very goal oriented, right? Like you're talking to people who want to get from one place to another. And that's the nature of what we do as living things, right? We move, we go, we have eyes that pick goals that we want to achieve, right? And so that's exactly, I think, like I think what you're doing there is very valuable in that sense, because I mean, it seems simple. Like now that you like hearing you explain it, and I'm familiar with different sort of theories that are very similar to what you're talking about, but hearing you explain it, right, like it makes total sense that you get what you put in, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like when you mention about the mental health and all that, and we hear a lot of somebody has so much depression, or so many, or kids, or whatever, people, and anybody, or you too much anxiety. And then when I learned in all my trainings and stuff, they taught us that depression is that you're too much in the past, because you're like in the past, always thinking about, oh, I should have done this, or my mom did this to me, or my dad did this to me. You're in the past all the time. That's why you get depressed. And then if you have too much anxiety, because you're in the future, you're thinking too much, oh my God, what if I do this? Or what if it's this? And, oh, no, in a year I have to this. And then in 2 years, no. And the fact is that all we have is this now, like right now. Not the now that 20 minutes ago, that's gone already. Yeah. This is the now. So we got to live in our present. So being that, let's say, grateful for what you have and the things that you can do in the now, you're creating a better future already. And I'm not saying this that, oh, forget all the things and plans that you have in the future. It's not about that. It's just that you gotta, let's say, okay, you have this plan, you want to achieve certain things, then you take action, step by step, and do what you can little by little. And most of us are like again, too much in the past, because blaming all the things that happened in my childhood, or whoever did this to me, so that's all. Like it's kind of like hard for some people to, let's say, get rid of that, but that's how I help people to get, live in the present more.
And then what you're saying there is interesting too, because in a case where someone is, say, depressed, they probably also feel stuck in a way. Like I feel like words we'll use to describe having that kind of mental state is like you feel like you're carrying something, you feel like something's heavy, you feel like you're being weighed down. And maybe because mentally you're focusing on behind you, and again, going back to this idea that we're beings that move, if you're looking behind you kind of thing, you're not looking to where you're going, and maybe you're not moving at all. And so you're sort of mentally going back to that same traumatic experience or that whatever it is, and you're reliving those same negative emotions. And that reminded me back to when you were talking about emotional releasing of the past. And it's like you have to kind of go back, look at that, say, something happened to you when you were 5 or whatever, and you're like, oh, you know what? You see 5-year-old you, and you're like, hey, you know what? That's all right. It wasn't really your fault. There's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? You have lots to be grateful for, and then you can go through that. And now that memory has a different connotation attached to it. And now we can, like you said, you lose a little bit of that weight, and now you can start moving forward, because now you can focus more on what's ahead of you. And to the point of what you said, you don't want to look too far ahead, because that's where anxiety comes, because you're trying to think of every possible outcome of something. And really what you have to do, which goes back even to what you were saying about just being able to say no, you actually have to do the thing and then react to the reaction. You don't react first and then not do the thing, because you actually have to do it to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just that it's all learnings too, right? And when you realize that, you are here in this world and you can learn things, and you made mistakes and you get up and go, and whatever happened into your past, you gotta just kind of like forgive it and let it. Actually, it's that simple. Let it go. it's simple, but for some people it's not.
Mhm.
But it's just that. Let it go and then be in your present and, one thing at a time. Let's say one step at a time, like anything. So,
Well, that makes me think, and maybe you'll have some insight on this. I wonder if like sometimes we want to hold on to things in the past, even parts of our trauma, because we've identified so much with that. We feel like we'd be leaving part of ourselves behind. Do you think that makes any sense?
and like say in my experience, no, because you need to just like let that go. Think about, for example, when you were 5 or I don't know 7 years old, and then you have your favorite shirt that they say, if you remember, maybe it was a blue, I don't know, and then you're like, oh, I love that shirt so much, it was your favorite, you wear it all the time. So where is it now? If I ask you, do you like love it? Do you miss it? No, because it's gone. It's already past. It's already gone, like completely gone. And it's the same thing as like if you were little and then your mom say give you a hard time one time because you didn't do something, or you're like, yeah, I was very upset. So you stop talking to your mom because it's just a little, no, I kind of forgot about it. I don't know. So it's the same. Like you can really heal yourself the same way, simple things, whether it's something like really, really, let's say big or really small, it's the same thing, you can heal it. I don't know if you read about Louise Hay. She has that book. Well, she was like one of my first, let's say, mentor when I started learning NLP. She has a book called You Can Heal Yourself. So she talks about in that book. She died when she was 92, I think, a few years ago. They say you cut yourself, you're like, oh, I cut myself, it hurts, because on your finger, right? Sometimes like, oh, it hurts that. And then a few days later, oh, but hey, what happened to your, oh no, it's gone now, I'm good. Because you forgot about it. You didn't even think about that anymore. It's the same thing with anything that happened in your body. You can really heal yourself because you just forget. But the thing is, let's say you have, something, I don't know, some illness really, let's say big, or that, maybe let's be extreme here a little bit and say cancer. But because we have so many crazy things about cancer, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Well, no, you can actually heal because the society, the things around, and the people, oh, poor you, you're sick. So all those things create all that in your head that you're like making sick yourself more as opposed to healing. Because you're thinking of that, oh yeah, I'm sick, I'm all the time. No, you can just forget that too. And your body is so intelligent, it is so powerful that it can heal itself. So it's the same as like, just forgetting. But see, we don't tend to forget. We think that we have to hold on into that thought or that thing forever. But it's not that. It just really let it go.
Yeah, well, no, that does make sense too, because that's something that they'll take into mind, say when they're testing a new drug, they'll take into effect the placebo effect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it matters if you believe you're getting something that's medicine. If you don't, if you don't know or you're not sure, you're not going to have the positive effect as good as you could. It's again back to this idea. If you think about it in a certain way, your body's like, oh, I'm healing because I keep hearing you're healing, you're getting better, you look great, and so you get more energy, you feel good, and so your body does get better, right? And if you're going to have, say, effective treatment in the hospital, are you going to have better treatment if you think, oh, I'm probably going to die? Or if you think, you know what, I'm getting through this, I can make it, I got a beautiful family around me, I got lots to live for, I got this and I got that. And I think, in the latter case, you're going to have far better results.
That's right. Yeah. And it's all what you're saying to yourself, like, yeah, your surrounding, all those things, it'll affect you. Exactly. That's how it is. So in anything, because if you see people, I'm sure you might know somebody who had cancer and died, and maybe you think back, and if you were a little close to that person, you probably, yeah, I kind of feel like they were just making sick themselves all the time. Or if you know this person that also had cancer and is perfectly fine right now, is like, doing the thing, working or whatever, it's because you probably see, oh yeah, that person was like that. And I can give you say my example, my father had cancer and then he died. And then when I look back, it's like, yeah, because he wasn't ever into like, yeah, I'm getting better and better. He was always like, I'm getting sick, I'm gonna just all this thing in his head. And now I have a good friend here, actually in Sudbury. She had cancer and she's active, she's running, she's doing things, she's like super go-go that you will never ever thought that. But it's because of you also. Yeah, of course it's all the things, right? Like, what you eating and if you're like exercising or things like that, of course that affects as well.
Mhm.
But your mindset is the most important thing. What is it that you're saying to yourself? So that's it, but it affects you more, let's say. Mhm.
Yeah, and even talking about that reminds me. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy David Goggins before, but he was a Navy SEAL in the States, and he's done all of these like crazy marathons, triathlons, and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was he did the Bud SEAL training, so that's like their really rigorous training camp. He did that twice, and the reason he had to do it twice was I think the first time he did it, I can't remember if he broke a bunch of bones in his feet or something like that. Like he banged up his body to the point where like he couldn't really do it. And he mentally is so tough that he just kept saying, no, keep going, no, keep going, no. And he went to the point where literally it was like he couldn't go no more. The doctor's like, no, I can't let you go back out there. But he was still going to get up there and go and do it. And he talked about doing this marathon where he ran to the point where like I think he was having kidney failure. Like he started having like real issues, but he had the attitude that I'm doing this, I'm finishing this race, and he did it. And it's your mind can make your body do all kinds of things that you wouldn't think your body could do. But that's the real limiter. And that's the real interesting part behind this NLP is that the real maker of your future is your mindset.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I really, I'm grateful that I learned all this. And again, it's just, to be able to help people and see them like, you're a magnificent person, intelligent, you've got this. So I can teach them all. So it's very, very, very cool for sure.
Yeah, well, that is really great. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Would you be able to let people know where they can get a hold of you or how they can get involved with your coaching?
Yeah, so they can connect with me through my email, website, or phone number. So my email is zoe@zoemonroy.com. So that's ZOI@ZOIMONROY.com. My website is ZOIMONROY.com. And my phone number, 705-919-7139. So yeah, and also, of course, I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Very active there too. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'm really, really excited to, and happy to take the time here too. Thank you for letting me tell you a little bit about me. We can talk more and more because I always love talking about this.
Yeah, no, it's been really great. And I think we learned a lot. And I think a lot of people who listen to this will learn a lot from it. So thank you again for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.